Welcome back, everybody. I'm Meg Ruler 31, back for FSI DFS, and we're here to break down the 9-game slate for Wednesday, 7/7. So it's pitching has been the story the last couple of days. Video that I did on July 5th, we said Fried and Woodruff were the best pitchers on the slate, and both of them were not very good. Pittsburgh, who I said, don't even touch, don't even play in a GPP, ends up putting up 11 runs out of nowhere. It was like opposite day. I said, DG Gregorius couldn't hit a home run if he tried, and he did have a home run. So last night I figured, okay, Philly stack, maybe he's on a hot streak here. He gets the 0. Last night with pitching, I decided to go with DeGrom and stick with him because I figured, this game is not going to be rained out. They're just going to start late. The radar looks good and with a 0. But McKinley 412 was really on with his picks and still cashed with lots of Phillies and home runs in my lineup and a 0 from DeGrom and a lot of salary on the table. So anyways, we're on to another slate here. If you're looking to play the early slate that starts at noon today, McKinley 412 has that video separately on our channel. So just hit the pause button here, search our channel, watch his video, and then come on back and we'll cover tonight. So tonight, pitching awful again. Top pitcher probably on the slate was supposed to be Burns, but it looks like with the Mets being rained out, he's going to be the first part of the doubleheader against DeGrom, and then you have two clowns. Well, on the major league pitchers, they can throw balls better than I can, so I can't really throw too much shade on them. But anyways, not really interested in either one in that game. So Wheeler is the Phillies facing the Cubs. The weather's pretty iffy there, so the Cubs do strike out, and even though then the wind's going to be blowing in, so it's a good situation. So he would be the top pitcher on the slate, but again, we'd have to see. You have Garcia from Houston against Oakland, who is a decent lineup. So, and he's given up some hard contacts, so I kind of struggle with him. And then you have Kikuchi, who has been pitching good, has been getting some strikeouts, but he faces the Yankees, who just put up 11 runs again last night. So I think that kind of puts me in the mid-range where we have Wood, Ryu, and Paddock. Wood, he has had his struggles, but I think he's rounded that. He has a decent matchup against the Cardinals, even though they're all right-handers against him. He's been okay against right-handers this year. So I think at 8.5, he'd probably be my top pitcher on the slate. Ryu takes on Baltimore. He's faced them a couple times recently. He has struggled, so I think I'm out on him. Like, he had a bad game, only made 4 innings against Seattle last time out, gave up 4 runs, gave up 4 runs to Baltimore previously. He had a quality start against them before that with 23 DK points, but he's been in single digits even before that. You have to go way back to like May, where he had a string of like a couple games where he had 19 DK points. So I don't think it's to stick him with him. I don't know if he's tipping his pitches or if he's experimenting with something, it's going horribly wrong, or what's going on there. But I don't think that I'm interested in him. I think that even though I know I played Paddock a couple weeks ago, and he got absolutely lit up by Arizona when they were on their really, really bad streak. He had bounced back in this last game, and he gets a Washington team that is a little bit banged up still. He had a decent outing against Philly last game at Philly, and that's not a bad ballpark to hit in. He went 7 innings there, had a quality start, gave up 3 runs. So I don't think he's going to get out of this clean, but Washington's lineup is a little bit watered down without Schwarber there. So he just has Turner and Soto, really, maybe Bell to worry about. The rest of it isn't that great. So I think I'm going to go Wood and Paddock. There are some other options out there too. Mills has been pitching well. I know Philly seems to be absolutely on fire, but I think maybe the wind aided that, the wind blowing in, the temperatures are cooler. But again, this game has a 50% chance of rain, so I don't know if it plays. So he would be someone, if the game is going to play, that I'd consider on the low end. Sensatella could take a shot against Arizona. Again, they have had their struggles. And then I think maybe punting with German against Seattle. But again, he's had his struggles recently. Let's pull up his box score quick. Yeah, he hasn't had, he's had less than single digit DK points. He had 0.55, 5.4, 7.6, negative 6.85. Then he had a couple runs at 13. So again, don't know if it was sticking with him or what, but he's only lasting like 4 innings. So he's almost like a glorified opener, really. And then the bullpen takes over. So he's not really good. So looking at stacks, I'll just go game by game now at this point. Toronto at Baltimore. Matt Harvey's on the mound for Baltimore, so that makes Toronto the #1 stack again. But they are very expensive, so it's gonna be hard to fit them in if you go any like with Wheeler in your lineup or Garcia or Kikuchi. So you'd have to take the minimum guys, and they're the ones I'll use for the build at the end here. So Baltimore, I don't mind them against Ryu. Like I said, he's struggled. I think they're a nice cheap stack if you want to mix in some bats there. I'm not touching the Mets and the Brewers. It's going to be the second pass of a doubleheader, so it's only going to be 7 innings. So not really willing to go there. You have the Dodgers and the Marlins playing. Dodgers have an opening situation with David Price and Yusita, I think. Marlins have David Hess going. He probably going to go a couple innings. So I like the Dodger bats. Definitely, but again, they're expensive. I prefer Toronto in their matchup. And the Miami bats, I'm okay with some of them as a one-off, but Dodgers have a really good bullpen behind the openers. So I don't think that I really like them a lot. Again, Philadelphia and the Cubs, I would not play the Cubs at all. They've struggled over the last couple of weeks, really can't hit even in good windy conditions. But Philly, if you think that their hot streak is going to continue, I don't mind them. They're actually relatively cheap with Bryce Harper at 4.6 being the most expensive one. All the rest of the guys are really in the 3K. Mills is a ground ball pitcher, but you do have some guys like Hoskin and Harper that can hit a lot of fly balls. So I think, there'd be this probably my favorite GPP stack on the slate. A's, not really interested in them against Garcia. I think they're just maybe some of the top guys is a cheap stack. Like Chapman's really struggled against right-handers. Olsen, I think, would probably be the top play. So if you wanted to go, and Drewis is actually, I've trashed on him, but recently he's actually been in the teens a lot of the games. I moved up in the lineup, so I don't want to completely say he's come back from the dead, but I think he's actually playable at this point. So let's I used to compare him to like Chris Davis, both of them, the one from Baltimore and the one Crush Davis that was on Oakland, that I forget where he is now, who just all of a sudden became terrible players, but just still continued to be in lineups to just strikeout after strikeout, this bagel after bagel, day after day, minimum price. You'd play him just hoping for something and always be disappointed. Houston, I think I like them. It's probably my second favorite GPP stack here. Manet is a decent pitcher, but I think, again, the pricing, they're just they're not as bad as like Toronto and the Dodgers. You only have like one bad Correa at 5K. I think the rest of them are reasonable, but they only have a 4.89 total. So I think it's a great stack in a GPP, but I wouldn't play them as my primary cash. Colorado and the Diamondbacks, like I said, Sensatello is okay, but he is hittable. So Arizona stack is cheap and something to maybe pair with Toronto, or if you're playing another high price stack. And Colorado, they really struggle on the road. Castellanos, he's only 4K. He's only probably going to go a couple innings, then get the bullpen, which isn't great. So Colorado pieces are okay too. St. Louis and San Francisco, like I said, I like Woods as my favorite pitcher. Oviedo, he is hittable. So San Francisco, definitely the lefties there, Wade, Yastrzemski, Dickerson. I'd even put Flores in the stack, even though he's up to 4.2. It's getting kind of expensive there. Maybe skip Posey at 5.1 and go with Crawford at 5.2. I just have to see Duggar wrap around. And there's options there. Again, I don't think they're going to be my primary cash, but I might have to use them if I am paying up for Wheeler. If he actually looks like he's going to pitch, I think San Francisco makes a reasonably priced stack to use here, especially like with Dickerson's price and Wade's price at 2.8 and 3.4. Cardinals, I think they're a great hedge stack if for leverage. If there's going to be a bunch of ownership on Woods, they're all right-handed team. Throw one of them out there, and relatively cheap too. Beside Arenado at 5.4 and Edmund at 4.5. You have Carlson at 3.7, O'Neill at 3.9. I mean, there's everybody else is around 4K or below, so definitely an option to look at. Yankees and Seattle. Like I said, I wouldn't play Jermaine at all. Kikuchi, I think he's probably the biggest upside tournament pitcher against the Yankees. If the Yankees become the Yankees of a couple weeks ago, where they can't hit anything and strike out a lot, even though it's a lefty-righty matchup, which usually used to be a dream matchup for the Yankees, maybe it turns into a nightmare here. So again, that's very risky playing him. If you do play Kikuchi, I'd maybe build a Yankees hedge stack, just so if it goes either way, you might be able to win some money. So again, the Yankees bats I'm okay with, not my favorite stack. Just so expensive for the situation. Seattle, they're relatively cheap. Again, but you're only probably talking about 3 to 4 innings of Jermaine for them to get to him before you get to the bullpen. So I don't think they're going to put up like 12 or 13 runs at all. And then the Padres and the Washington Nationals, Corbin at 8K. He's okay. Maybe I'd consider him as a pivot off some of the other mid-range guys, but you're paying up for him. The other guys are 7K, so you're saving a couple hundred. Might help you get a better bat against the San Diego offense that's just really tuned in. You have some of the biggest bats, Machado and Tatis and Pham are right-handed Myers. I just don't like the matchup here. So again, contrarian play. I'm not saying Corbin's a complete fade, but I think the range of outcomes don't look very good for him. Washington, if you want to use as a really cheap stack, if you think Paddock's going to struggle again, but I think Paddock's going to be absolutely fine here, and that's why it's going to be my SP2. So speaking of lineup construction, I'm going Paddock and Woods, and then at catcher, I'm going to lock in Severino at 2.2. There's probably about 4 options between 2.1 and 2.2 that you could use if he's not in. It's the first game. It's good value. It's got the split advantage, so kind of really like that there. So if you plug in and use the top 5 of Toronto, if it is going to be Vlad, Simeon, Timo Hernandez, Springer, and Bichette, it then only leaves you 2-1 for third base and outfield, unless I think the cheapest third baseman projected to start is 2.5. So unless there's like a punt that develops at third base, and there are some 2K outfielders that you can play, so that's not an issue. I don't think that's going to work. I am inclined to drop Bichette out of the stack, and that leaves you about 3K for third base, shortstop, and outfield. There's a couple of different there's no teams that stack with those positions that work really well, so they're all going to be one-offs, but there are some really decent plays, especially if you punt down to outfield. You can play up at shortstop and third base a little bit and get some good players there. And there are some good punts at outfield that work also. The other thing that I considered doing is if you throw in Biggio at 3.9 in the stack, that leaves you a nice amount for shortstop and the final outfield space too. It gives you around $3,000, and that's a reasonable salary for outfield and shortstop. Shortstop, like, it's kind of like a high-low sometimes. There's really nobody in the middle that you're looking for, except for maybe Andrews is just keeps on coming back to haunt me here. He's 2.4. Actually, that's pretty low, so I'm okay with that. I don't know if there's anybody even below him that would even be starting, so I'm okay punting shortstop and trying to get a better bat up higher. So it's pretty much the breakdown. Sorry it's not looking to be a great slate, but I think, you know, if people jam in Wheeler and that game gets rained out, or, you know, if people try to go even lower down with pitching just to try to get the full Toronto stack, or try to get the bats in, I just don't think that's going to work. So again, I like Wood and Paddock as my favorite pitchers here. I'm okay with going Wheeler. I'm okay going Garcia, Kikuchi if you want to pay up, but I think there's like a little bit more risk. I'd rather have the bats. And then like Mills, Santana, Germain, I think there's too much risk there. So I just kind of want to hammer this mid-range. Corbin again said kind of be an option there, but I'd rather save. Toronto definitely a top stack. San Diego, Dodgers, and San Francisco would be my top 4 stacks. Philly, weather has them as my top GPP. Houston against an okay pitcher, Manaea. New York Yankees would be the next GPP one, and then St. Louis is leverage. And then if you're looking for cheap, Baltimore, Arizona, Washington, and Seattle would be in that order. So thanks for watching. Drop some comments below if you have any questions, especially if things change, if another game unexpectedly gets rained out or the hurricane postpones the Marlins and the Dodgers game, or anything else weird happens, power outage, thunderstorm, earthquake, who knows, crazier things have happened. So drop some comments, reach out to me on Twitter at MegaRuler31. Please give us a like. It just helps us get this video out to so many other people. So if we're helping you, that's how you can help us in return. And subscribe to our channel so you know when our videos are coming out. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow night for Thursday's main slate. Have a good day.